How are we, guys? The gloves are off with myself, Curtis Woodhouse. I think this is video number 16 now. So like, subscribe, comment for all the algorithm and all that jazz. I actually got my channel monetized on, I think it was Friday it came through, or Saturday. I had it monetized before when I was on, but because I didn't do a video for like a year, they took it off, so I've had to build it back up again. And we're back in business. And so far, I have made, drum roll, £1.12. So that made me chuckle when I see my revenue hit £1.12. So KSI, watch yourself. I'm coming for you. But yeah, like I said, I don't do these for money, obviously. I just enjoy it. I enjoy sharing my views on boxing. And people always say don't read the YouTube comments, but I do. I read them, and it's good. There's some really good debate in there, and a lot of people have some really good opinions. I think yeah, I like that. Obviously, you get a few idiots on there that just want to call me names. I'm cool with that as well. You know, I'm a big boy. I've got thick skin, so that doesn't bother me. But yeah, welcome everybody. Hope you're enjoying the content. I'm certainly enjoying doing it. Today, God, I still don't even know which way I'm going on this one yet, and I'm doing the video. So today we are going to discuss two brutal, super tough British legends of the game. We're going to discuss Carl Froch versus Nigel Benn. I mean, just imagine if that fight was to happen. Just imagine, like, if that was, I mean, pay-per-view. I don't think there's any boxing fan that would not want to watch that fight. That is total carnage. And we're going to judge it over 12 rounds at super middleweight. We're going to go for the Carl Froch that beat Lucien Bute, destroyed him. I think it was in Nottingham. Was it 1 round or 2 rounds? Destroyed him. I think Bute was unbeaten at the time. I think that was Carl's most destructive performance. Not the biggest name that he's been in with, but Bute was very feared. Had a very high percentage knockout, southpaw as well, threw that lovely whipping left, good body puncher, heavy hands, fast, very good amateur. That was a great win for Carl Froch. And yeah, I think if you're looking at his career, that one night, that was probably him at his best, because he was destructive, powerful, fast, ruthless. So we're taking that version of Carl Froch against the version of Nigel Benn that beat Gerald McClellan, that tragic fight. If we try and forget about the tragedy of the event and just think about the performance alone, I know it's difficult because it's hard to talk about that fight without obviously remembering what happened to Gerald McClellan. But that night, Nigel Benn beat McClellan. McClellan was a serious fighter. Everybody was scared of him. He was knocking people out left, right, and centre. And he was a huge favourite as well when he came over to, I think that was in London, was it? When he came over to fight Nigel Benn, a huge favourite. And if you think about Benn that night, we had power, chin, heart, everything. That was probably Nigel Benn's best win, and the night that he was probably at his very best. If you put them two guys in your head now, and them two are going to fight each other, oh Lord, we got a fight. We've got a fight on our hands. This fight is up at super middleweight as well, which makes a difference. Carl Froch, a career-long super middleweight, big old lump at super middle. Nigel Benn went from middle to super middle, wasn't as big as Froch. So I think that could be vital. So I've wrote down a few things here to test against each other. I've put speed, power, jab, footwork, chin, and heart. If we're going to kind of work out who was going to win, then I suppose it's best to compare attributes. Speed. I mean, Froch, he wasn't slow, but he certainly wasn't fast either. Yeah. I don't think many fights Carl had the speed advantage. That wasn't him. He wasn't a slickster, he wasn't a speedster. He had good timing, but yeah, speed wasn't really him. Nigel, very, very explosive, very fast. Left hooks, right hooks, very, very fast. Athletically, fast twitch fibers, could explode out of nothing, land on your chin and wipe you out. So when we're going speed, we have to go with Nigel Benn with that. We have to. I think he's much faster than Carl Froch. So we edge towards Benn on that one. Power. I mean, both are dynamite in the gloves, but for me, Nigel Benn, probably one of the hardest pound-for-pound punchers this country has ever seen. I mean, when you're talking about lights-out power, this guy had it in either hand as well. Either hand. You know, you couldn't switch off against Nigel Benn. You switch off for a second, bang, he can turn your lights out. I've said Nigel Benn for me is as I was a kid growing up, my favourite fighter growing up in the UK was Nigel Benn. Loved the guy. That's why it upset me so much about Conor Benn and kind of what happened with that. It's another video for another time. But yeah, Nigel Benn, I loved him. Loved him. My dad loved him as well. My uncle Carson loved him. We all used to watch Nigel Benn and we loved him. Power, yeah, Benn, easily. Like I said, Froch could whack. As he likes to remind us, you know, taking George Groves out in one shot at Wembley in front of, I don't know how many people he says now. It seems to grow 1,000 every time. So let's say 100,000 people at Wembley. Yeah, Froch could really punch. But when you're comparing him next to Nigel Benn, the speed, the powers, it's not the same. You know, Benn was destructive early as well. Benn was very, very dangerous early. You know, I'm just thinking about the Charles Barkley's fight where he basically jumped on him and wiped him out. And loads of times, you know, he hurt people or knocked them out early. So power, again, we have to go with Nigel Benn for that, for me. So speed, Benn. Power, Benn. Jab. I mean, again, neither of them were Larry Holmes, were they? But Carl did actually have a long jab and a good jab. Trying to think about, excuse me, trying to think about the name of the German guy that he boxed, where he kept him at bay and outboxed him, and he was dangerous. Forgotten his name. I think he boxed him in the Super 6. It was a really, really good display. And Carl could really box when he had to and when he wanted to. He had a good jab, long arms. Like I said, it wasn't Larry Holmes. He wasn't blessed with super speed, but his timing was good. And he could put that stick on you all night if he wanted to. The guy's name's escaped me, so forgive me for that. Hopefully you'll know what I mean. Bald guy, squat, stocky, could punch, but he was a middleweight. And when he moved up to super middle, he wasn't big enough to compete with Carl Froch. But Carl didn't get involved in a fight with him, boxed his ears off. I think he won every round. His name's gone, but hopefully you know what I mean. Jab, Nigel Benn. We didn't really see much of Nigel Benn's jab, did we? You know, maybe a few feints here and there, but he was coming with the hooks and the big shots. And I don't think I've ever seen Nigel Benn outbox anybody. That was never his intention. He was seek and destroy. So when we come down to the best punch in boxing, the jab, I think we have to go towards Froch on that one. Like I said, Nigel Benn, it wasn't really part of his armoury. I'm sure he had a good jab if he wanted to use it, but we never really seen Benn dominate behind his jab or even bust people up with his jab. It was more of a feint to land his other shots. So yeah, we've got to go for Benn on that one. Sorry, Froch for that one. Footwork. This is a difficult one because neither of them danced around the ring with what you'd class as kind of footwork. But both had good footwork to get them in range to let their hands go. Benn had fast feet. He could get there quickly. And before you knew it, he was on you and bang, he'd be letting go. Carl had more, what's the word I'm looking for? More kind of like stylistic footwork. Like he was a good amateur. He boxed a long time as an amateur. So he had that like meat and two veg footwork, if that makes sense. He wasn't fancy, but again, he put himself in position. He'd use his long levers really well, judged distance very, very well. But again, neither of them were kind of Lomachenko. It wasn't their styles, was it? Footwork, this is a tough one. I'm going to have to come back to this one. Let me have a little think about that. Next one I put is chin. I mean, Nigel Benn was vulnerable, and that's why he was so good to watch, because you could hurt Benn. Benn could be hurt early or late because he was so, and for me, it wasn't even a chin problem. I'm just having a cup of coffee here, boys and girls. It wasn't a chin problem. It wasn't that he couldn't take a shot. He was just super aggressive. So getting hit with one wasn't really, he wasn't bothered. You hit him with one, as long as he could hit you with one as well, he'd take that all day long. So a lot of times when he's jumping in, he got caught. You know, he used to roll under, catch shots on the top of the head sometimes. So he didn't have a bad chin. But when we're talking about the best chins in British boxing ever, Carl Froch is in that conversation. You could hit that guy with anything. And he'd just kind of always make that like face where he'd go like, and just keep coming at you. You're like the Terminator. So chin, I mean, you have to go with Froch. You've seen him get put down by Groves. Groves a massive puncher. Big old super middleweight as well. Mikel Kessler hurt him. Made him do a funny little dance, didn't he? Remember? I think it was a short right hand that Mikel Kessler caught him with. I can't think of anybody else that's really buzzed him. It might be early on in his career or whatever, but you were never going into fights ever thinking Froch would get knocked out. Even I remember when in the first fight with Groves, when he got put down, I remember watching that fight. I was on my sofa and we had a cat at the time and the cat was next to me. And I screamed that loud. The cat jumped off the sofa and went crazy and started meowing and screaming because I literally went, whoa! Really, really loud because I was so shocked to see Froch get put on his backside like that. Better not say that. Might affect my £1.12 if I swear. But got put on his backside, and I remember the shock and screaming at the top of the voice. The cat just jumped through the living room. But he got up, recovered, steadied himself, and went on to win that fight in controversial fashion. But when you're talking about chins, for me, Froch is up there with anybody I've ever seen. And like I said, you look at his resume. I've been looking at both the guys' resumes as a little bit of research. I haven't researched too much into it because I've watched most of their fights anyway. So I'm just trying to go off my memory and my gut instincts rather than bamboozling anybody with loads of science and facts. I'm just going off my heart and what my gut tells me. But yeah, chin, Froch. I'd put Froch's chin against anybody in the history of British boxing. Anybody. So he gets a nod on this one. The next one I've got is heart. I mean, wow. How do you split these two with heart? Bearing in mind the nights that we're talking about Benn versus McClellan, where Benn was knocked through the ropes after 40, 50 seconds, I think it was, and was shook up and hurt so many times in that fight. When you think he's on the way out, he'd come back and he'd throw something big, and he would not be denied that night. His heart was like unquestionable. This guy on this night would have taken some shifting. And he showed it in other nights as well. You know, the two Eubank fights were brutal. The first one especially. I know Benn got stopped in that fight, but he took some monstrous blows. He got hammered for large parts of that fight. Eye was closed and he never stopped trying. Heart, you've got to say this guy has got a heart the size of the bucket. And then you compared it to Carl Froch. I mean, again, you never seen Carl lose heart, did you? You never seen him give up. His will was unbelievable. We've seen he was dangerous right to the last second of every fight. When he went over to America to knock out Jermaine Taylor with like 4 seconds to go, or something ridiculous, like a real rocky moment. And Froch was behind the whole fight. There was never a part in that fight where Froch was ahead. He was always chasing on the scorecards, but he never gave up. His heart could not be questioned. Again, the night he won the WBC title, I'm terrible with bloody names. I've forgotten the guy's name, who was a right handful, who went up to light heavy afterwards and won world titles. He was from Montreal. I have to apologise for me forgetting his name. You'll be watching this now and shouting at it's so-and-so, so-and-so. But yeah, I've been punched in the head a lot, guys, so bear with me. But the night he won the title, wow. I mean, Froch has been in some of the greatest fights I've ever seen, where you're like, this guy has no quit in him. I mean, heart, I don't know how you split these guys with heart. I don't want to be disrespectful to either of them by saying one has more heart than the other. But, I mean, I think that's got to be a draw. Because if these two fight, I don't see either of them out-hearting the other. Obviously, one of them's going to win. We're not going to go a draw, not in any of these fights that I'm going to do, the fantasy matchups. We're never going to go a draw. One of them's going to win, but it won't be because one of them breaks the other one's heart. No chance. I just can't see that. I'm going to go for a draw on that one, guys. Draw. I feel comfortable saying a draw. So we're back to Footwork. I'm gonna favor Footwork, Carl Froch. Just like I said, Benn was you never really thought about Benn as having fancy footwork, but he had fast feet to be able to. He was like a shark. He'd be out of range, then boom, in range, bang, and he'd catch you. That's footwork. People think footwork. They think Lomachenko. They think people like that. But Benn had different type of footwork, which was very, very impressive. But I'm gonna go Froch. Froch was very good at judging distance, and for that you need little adjustments in your feet here and there. So they're always at your range, and range in this fight is so important. They're always at your range at the end of your punches, and Froch did that really well. Them little adjustments with his feet. So I'm going to edge Froch on that one. So speed, we've got Benn. Power, Benn. Jab, Froch. Footwork, Froch. Chin, Froch. Heart, draw. So we've got 3-2 to Froch on that with one drawn. When it comes to the fight, how have I got it? So this is a tough call. I've changed my mind. I can see either man winning this fight. I think Benn it would have to be early. Benn would have to get Froch early, inside 4 or 5 rounds. You know, similar to how George Groves hurt Froch early. But you can say Froch wasn't really as switched on for that fight. There's no way Froch is going to be taking Nigel Benn anything but 100% serious. So Benn has to get him early. Froch, again, naturally the bigger man, better reach, better jab, better footwork. I think he would dominate dominate where the fight took place. Ring center. It'd have to take place at ring center for Froch. Would be constantly working his jab, keeping Benn at range, trying to drop right hands on him as he comes in, tying him up inside. I think Froch would definitely do that. Froch wasn't a great inside fighter, but he was physically very, very strong. Probably stronger than Nigel Benn. Again, like I said, this is up at super middleweight. Benn was a natural middleweight. Froch was a natural super middle. Them 7 pounds make a lot of difference. I think Froch would be the stronger man inside. Could he keep Nigel off him early? Could he not get caught early like Iran Barkley did, like so many others did? I think he can, yeah. I think he keeps Benn because he can be disciplined. Bloody that guy's name, the German guy. Might not even be German, but hopefully you know who I am. Who came up from middleweight. Again, was a big puncher, like 90% knockout ratio. He wasn't as good as Nigel Benn, that's for sure. But Benn was very, very disciplined in that fight. Froch was very, very disciplined in that fight. And I see him have to be the same here. He has to be super disciplined early, not get involved. And I think he can. I think he can get through the first 4 or 5 rounds unscathed. When I say unscathed, I mean not getting knocked out. No one gets through totally unscathed against Nigel Benn. Peak Nigel Benn. So Froch has to weather some early storms. Froch might have to get off the floor as well. That would not shock me if Froch had to get off the floor from a clubbing right hand. Not flush. If Benn hits Froch flush, he could jump on him and stop him. But I see Nigel Benn clubbing him with them big right hands, them left hooks, and hurting him, possibly even knocking him down. Again, we're talking about Froch, one of the best chins we've ever seen in British boxing. So if he does go down, I expect him to get up. I don't see anybody flatlining Carl Froch. Anybody. So I expect him to get up. I expect him to weather a hellish first 4 rounds. And then I see Froch taking over, I think. I should have put stamina on this as well. Froch's stamina is serious. You never, ever seen him fade in fights. Ever. Ever. Never seen Froch fade. And I think this is where he has the big, big edge in stamina. I think Nigel chucks a kitchen sink at him early. Probably shoots his load a little bit. And from rounds 6 onwards, I see Froch taking over. Controlling him with the jab. Landing them long right hands. Again, Froch isn't a huge puncher, but he hits. You know, you don't be getting hit clean by Carl Froch often and not having no effect. And I think he's one of them that over time, it's like dripping water, isn't it? Over time, you're like, oh, wow. I've boxed a few of them myself where you're like, this guy ain't really got much power. And then over time, you're like, ooh, these are starting to hurt a little bit. And I think Froch is one of them. Obviously, a lot. We're talking about world level here, not the level I boxed at, but still, it's the same. Some puncher's power that just creeps up on you. Dave Ryan was like that. Wasn't a big puncher, but you know, after like 6 or 7 rounds, I'm like, oh, this guy's hurting me. So yeah, I see Froch as one of them, and I just see him. I see Benn running out of steam, running out of gas, running out of ideas a little bit. I mean, if you're going to say anything negative about Benn, he could be pretty one-dimensional. You know, if he didn't get you, there wasn't really many switch-ups that he'd do later on in the fight to try and change things up. Normally, he didn't need to either. You know, he was coming at you with speed and power and aggression. And if that didn't work, plan B would be speed, power, and aggression, but even more of it. You know, he didn't really switch anything up. And I think once Carl got through that storm, if he got through that storm, that is, like I said, this doesn't shock me if Benn lands early and jumps on him and stops him. But I'm saying on this night, I think Froch weathers a seriously early storm. And I think he starts to really put it on Benn. That natural size he had, natural physicality, that footwork that we were talking about, little six-inch step backs, keeping him on the end of that jab, drilling them right hands in. Benn's getting tired. Benn's getting weary. I do see, God, I don't like saying this. I do see Carl Froch winning by stoppage in round, I want to say 10 or 11. I see the referee stopping the fight, Nigel Benn on his feet, exhausted, eye closed, face covered in blood, keeps trying, keeps walking onto shots, disciplined Carl Froch. I see the referee jumping in and stopping the fight. 2 warriors. Like I say, Froch has got off the floor in this fight twice. Benn's caught him early, dropped him. He's got up. He's weathered a storm. He's got clipped again. He's gone down in round 1. He's gone down in round 3. And he's weathered the storm. And when Benn gets stopped, he's slightly ahead on points. That's how I see this fight, because he's had so much success early. But Froch has just managed to stay in there. Again, his heart, his determination has kept him in there. And Benn's stamina has started to sap later on in the fight. Similar to what happened with George Groves, you know. You know, once he put Froch down, as the fight started to go on, he was getting tired. In the first fight I'm talking about. And then Howard Foster stopped the fight. I mean, that's a whole video for a whole nother time, whether it was a right stoppage or not. But at the time of the stoppage, Groves was tired. And I see that happening in this fight. I see after 6, 7 rounds, Nigel Benn not running on empty, but really slowing down and really starting to really feel it. Like I said, he's emptied early in the fight. He's hurt Froch, dropped him in round 1, dropped him in round 3, tried to finish him off, not got him out of there. And Froch is still there. Round 7, 8, start to give him it back, push Benn back, hit him with them long right hands, start to smack him with them left hooks underneath to the body. And I see Benn exhausted, tired, similar to the Eubank stoppage, similar to that, where he gets hurt, he's tired, and the referee jumps in. And Carl Froch defends his WBC super middleweight title in an absolute barnstormer. Fight of the year. I'm going to go round 10, TKO winner, Carl Froch. Let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. I fully expect this to be split. I expect people to say, yeah, I think you're right. I expect loads of people to say, like, no way. No way Benn puts Froch down twice and doesn't finish him off. Legitimate arguments, you know. And I won't argue too loudly with anybody that thinks Nigel Benn's going to win this fight. Like I said, Benn, my favourite fighter growing up as a kid. I hate to pick against him in this. But again, I loved Froch as well. Froch was a great fighter. Yeah, that's the way I see it. Let me know in the comments below. I really enjoyed doing this video as well because I'm visualizing the fight in my head. It's making me chuckle because I just know it'd be an absolute screamer. And yeah, definitely a rematch, possibly a trilogy. But on this night, peak Froch versus peak Benn. Froch wins via TKO in round 10.